I don't want you to feel this because it's terrible. What are you ready for? Are you ready to be the next victim, or are you ready to start working?
I'm Sarah Ferris, true crime podcast producer.
And I'm Katherine Schweit, former head of the FBI's active shooter program.
And you're listening to Stop the Killing.
I am so honored to be with our guest today, but I wanted to tell you first where we're recording. We're recording with the gracious gift of the people at the Aspen Ideas Festival in Aspen, Colorado, where it is an ideas place. People come together to think about solutions to the world's biggest problems, and not just think about them, but do, because there's such a difference between people who want to think and talk and people who think and do. And so today I am so honored to be here with people who shouldn't have to be here. Manuel and Patricia Oliver, who lost a son in the Parkland shooting. So let me introduce Manuel and Patricia Oliver.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So Manuel and Patricia are co-founders of Change the Ref. They're working to vote out politicians who take NRA money and vote in politicians with gun safety agendas. They are also head of global outreach and artistic advisor at Global Action on Gun Violence. They've met with President Biden regarding gun law regulations, and they've written a one-man show. It's dedicated to their son, Joaquin, whose nickname was Guac. I guess I gotta hear that story, who was murdered at the age of 17 during the 2018 high school shooting at Parkland, in Parkland, Florida. To keep focus on their son and the 45,000 victims annually of U.S. gun violence, Oliver has painted 55 murals around the country and overseas, and partnered with the advertising industry and received invitations from international events to share gun violence solutions. And yesterday, he and I were on a panel here at the Aspen Ideas Festival, working with a number of people to say, how can we beat this? I think the challenging name to our show was, how do we stop the shooting? A very small task. First, I just want to ask you, whoever's most comfortable. So if you wouldn't mind, and to whatever level you're comfortable with, we'd love to hear about your son.
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Katherine, for having us here. Well, I got to say that Joaquin is a very special, strong, demanding kid. Joaquin used to be very shy when he was very little. Joaquin, when he wanted to communicate to someone something, he was coming to my ear and saying, "Mommy, could you please tell this to that person?" "Why you don't do it?" No, you do it. Okay. So I was so pleased to be seeing him, growing up and seeing that kind of him that he was very shy was developing in this extrovert guy. He started going to school, of course, in elementary school. He was a kid that was beyond what he was asking for. He wanted to read really fast. He was very interested in reading. Mm-hmm. So when he was little, he couldn't because he was very little, like 2. He wanted to read us, for him, the back of the cereal boxes. Or when we were going to McDonald's, he wanted to read it, the Happy Meal, what it says there. And he was asking his sister how to play for him because he couldn't play video games because he wasn't, he was little. So he wanted to see at least. So he was always curious in every single way. So as he was growing up, he started playing sports. He played baseball at the beginning, then he played soccer and played basketball. At one point, he was playing the 3 of them together. And he started developing more that he was very preventive. He was always a very careful kid. He never wanted to be on risk. Mm-hmm. So he was afraid of the ball, and then you were seeing how he was improving that, and he was catching the ball, and he was attacking the other one. He was basketball, because he has to defend the ball. And those kind of situations makes me happy to see how he was growing up as a kid. As a friend, he was excellent. He was the leader of his friends. He never drove because he didn't want to. I asked him when he was saying to me, "Well, where do you want to go?" "I'm gonna go somewhere." "Okay, how do you want to go? How are you gonna do it?" "Because I have my friend that is gonna come and pick me up." "Okay, fine. You're good. You're lucky." So, in our family side, he was always the little one of the house. He's the little one of the house. He was always surrounded by his sister, Manuel, and I. We were always listening, and we were always sharing his stories about what was going on during his day at school. So we were a very communicative family. So he felt very openly to talk about any subject to us. And I miss that a lot. He's a kid that, well, we find out after, how concerned was about social issues. Mm-hmm. He was always posting on Twitter, so now we understand why he was all day long, typing on the cell phone. And he was in a lot of trouble in school because of that, because he was on his cell phone all day long.
He was busy trying to solve the world's problems. He only had so much time to do it, and he knew.
It's incredible what he left in writing, mm-hmm. and we use it till today. What he posted at that moment is it attached at the same time to what's going on today.
Wow!
So it's incredible. So he was always concerned, and he left that to us.
Oh, that's a lovely gift.
He was very concerned about gun issues, gun violence, about what happened in Sandy Hook, what they didn't have any concerns. He was concerned about the citizens and the politicians, that they were moving forward in the right direction, asking for background checks, asking to buy assault weapons. He was always concerned about that, and they are both about that. So no, it's not something that he was talking to us. It was something that he posted, and he wrote a paper when he was 12 mm-hmm. about background checks in his social language class.
Wow!
So you find out that other side of Joaquin. And it's incredible. And that's one of the main reasons why I am here today talking to you.
Manny, I know this is hard for you too in different ways, but you, yesterday, we saw the first act of a play that you produced and star in. And it's about what happened on that day and when you found out and how you found out. Why did you want to do that? It's art, so maybe we need first your background in art.
Well, yeah, I have very limited skills in general. One that I have
I don't know about that.
I love art, and I used to paint, and I didn't know why I was so obsessed with trying to do things with my hands. Now I understand. Now it makes sense that I spent many years trying to be that person that can communicate with art. I was just training without knowing for this moment. So jumping from paintings and sculptures to theater, it's not that far. It's not that huge step between one thing and the other. They're all trying to communicate a message in a way, in an effective way. Theater brings you that opportunity. I've been invited, and probably you have too. We get invited to these events, and we have 5-10 minutes to talk about what we do, and you might have 10 or 20 minutes to talk about your book. I needed more than that. I needed more attention, and I wanted to condense the story in a way that it will be easier for people to understand. And nothing better than theater and a script to make that happen. So I took the risk. I told Patricia, listen, I think we could do this. And she said, I'm sure we could do that. And we found people from the theater scene to help us. And we used Joaquin's nickname, Guac, as the title of the play. So the scene that you saw today that people were really impacted with is just part of it. But I needed to bring one of the most impactful scenes to the event. That's scene number 7. We have 11 in total. And I will say that 99% of the play is about how wonderful Joaquin is during his 17 years. How crazy is the fact that we don't have that amazing person anymore with us. How injustice was doing something so you cannot meet Joaquin. Why? Why are we limiting people to meet Joaquin? So we needed that extension of his life, and the program of theater, which is only one of the programs that we have in Change the Ref, it makes perfect sense. Now, after 4 years, we go on tour. After this event, we're going to go to DC. We have 7 shows in DC. We're going to invite representatives. We're going to give free tickets and free rides from the Capitol.
I get one. I
Okay.
get one. I'm there.
Okay. So yeah, that's it. It's pretty unconventional. You know, when you see how people are fighting against gun violence, I think we all need to do our best thing. What is it that we're good at? Not turn into something different, because then you won't be able to handle it. And that allows us this action of theater and the way that we use art and the way that we use the international attention. It's very unique, I will say, and I like to think that it's going to work.
You know, I talk to a lot of people, unfortunately, in your position. So I feel like what I saw yesterday and in the honor of meeting the two of you is an opportunity to see how people who've been so impacted by gun violence have found a way to continue having your son be part of your world in a really impactful way that can affect so many other people. What kind of responses have you gotten since you started down this path?
Well, since we started this journey, that is 6+ years already, our principal intention is being Joaquin's voice. So we are till today Joaquin's parents, and we are recognized as that.
Of course.
So are you Joaquin's mom? I love that, because I always said that after I have my kids, I lost my name. So are you the mom of?
Yes.
So it works that way. So till today, our mission is to keep Joaquin's voice loud and clear. The same way that if we were lucky to be part of the survivors on that February 14, he will be doing this job. He will be doing the same thing that we're doing, maybe even better. Because he was with that energy, that he was very charismatic, and he was very into the purpose. He will be attacking that. So for that reason, we maintain Joaquin's legacy, and we want everybody to know that Joaquin is the person that he was during his physical years here with us.
Yeah, and the feedback from people is been very positive. I always like to think that we're doing two things in here. On one side, we are showing our efforts, and we're doing, as I told you, what we know how to do and communicate, representing Joaquin. And on the other side, we are showing people that they can do something.
I think that's so true.
When
I
they
love
see
that.
Patricia, how many mothers have seen Patricia out there? Mothers that are suffering the loss of their kids. They see Patricia out there promoting a theater play, or riding a school bus around the nation, or being in the center of a rally. And so they say to themselves, wait a minute, I can do something. And that's crucial here. That is a satisfaction, We get back home and, well, I think we can go to bed tonight feeling that some people will start doing something, and they will feel better by doing something.
Yeah, the moms. This is hard. To me, to be in this position today, it took me a while. I was really invisible to everybody, because they didn't know about me. They were always knowing about Manuel. And I understand that position, because you have to process that what's going on, and that really we're talking about a situation that is real, but you want to be on denial on that. So you recognize that you are going through that, but at the same time, you don't want to be in that position. So I think that I've been an inspiration for other moms that have been going exactly for the same process that I was going through. And they come to me and they say, how do you do it? And I always say, it's about time, no pressure. We have our own way to process things. At the beginning, for example, I was taking anti-anxiety pills before having an interview because it was very, to me, was very painful to be able to be talking about a situation that I didn't want it to be real.
Right. That makes sense. I didn't think about it that way. Did you feel pressure in some that you should talk about it some? I mean, that would take a long time, I think, for me too, to feel like I want to even talk or share with anybody else.
Yeah, of course. For me, it took a while because I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to accept. It's acceptation.
Yeah.
I really think that this situation came as a real issue to me was the day that I listened to the medical examiner. And that was 4 years later, in 2022, when he read the Joaquin's autopsy.
The autopsy report.
And that was really
those are terrible details.
terrible. So I decided to myself, okay, this is what it is. I knew what the screen was when the medical examiner was starting to talk. They had a screen in the middle of the room. When they say his name, I just stand up. I saw Joaquin's face. I say, okay, this is it. I need to confront the situation.
Has it helped you? Do you feel like this helps you? Sometimes, I worked on 9/11. I was in the FBI working on 9/11, which was a horrible day, in the States. And I was in my office, but I was very busy. I was working, and it helped me to process this terrible tragedy that our country was going through and how we were responding to it. So does it help you to have a mission in these different ways? It gives you a reason to get up every day in a different reason?
It does, but there's a few things that help us, okay? I think the main one is that we're together. And that, I want to put this out there as advice. When you're a family, when you love each other, when you are together, and you lose a member of the family, you need to learn how to live without that person in the group. And many families can't. Many families start blaming each other. The pain is so strong that you lose that ability to stay together and learn how to do it. We were able to do that, and that helps a lot. Patricia knows exactly my levels of anxiety, when I feel uncomfortable, when I need help and support, when I'm about to cry. And I can say the same thing from me when I see her. So that's important, and I want to tell anyone, try to stay together, because together you will have more energy and it will be easier. And back to the point that if this helps us or not, I think we are in a situation where it's not that relevant if it's helping us or not. When I go back to what happened to Joaquin that day, and I know the details now, I know exactly how things happen, the suffering, the fear, the pain, the levels of anxiety, the madness, the injustice. I'm fine. I am here talking to you, drinking a coffee. So this is not about me. And neither Patricia or me have victimized ourselves in here. One person that we love very much was hurt, and however we feel by doing the things that we do, it's not even close to that suffering. So it's not about us.
Fascinating, because I don't know that I expected that answer or that response. I want to ask this, but you don't have to answer it.
We will.
But I'm just saying that. You mentioned that you have a daughter, And I don't want to, impede on her privacy and her world, but she's part of the family. So how has that been? Sometimes I think we often forget about the fact that there's a whole family structure that has to change. So how's your daughter doing?
Andrea has been going through a lot of suffering. Andrea decided to be going in deep into the criminal case. So she knew everything. She went into every post, every comment, every video. So she knew exactly. She was dealing with the criminal trial. She was in touch with the lawyers, and she always was very clear and that she wanted to go there that day when the trial started. And we respect that position, but I can tell you, I can see her that she takes a lot of herself because she keeps thinking about what this guy did to Joaquin. Mm-hmm. And for the first time in all these years, she decided to work on that direction. She decided to say, okay, now I'm going to try my best not to think about what he did to Joaquin. I'm going to try to think about what I did with Joaquin.
I love that. Yeah, I love that.
And I think that's a huge step because, as a mom, I was very concerned. Right. But, she's 32. I can't do much. She has to take her own decisions. For example, when they decided the walkthrough on the school with everybody, with the first time with the families, she was the first one in line.
Wow.
So that takes a lot from you emotionally. Not only that, they did that on Joaquin's birthday, August 4th, 2022, during the trial.
Oh, wow.
Then last year, I think it was, they organized another walkthrough, and it was again on Joaquin's birthday. I don't know what it has a meaning, but Andrea decided to go back again because it was Joaquin's birthday, and that is a scene that that you can see it on TV,
Right.
when you see the true channel and you see what the cops do during their investigations. But when you see that your brother
Right.
was there, suffering in that space, I think that's not healthy for anyone.
Yeah.
We never decided to go there. We were very clear. I don't need to go inside the school. I don't need that.
Yeah, we 4 years ago or 5 years ago, correct me, I think it was 5 years ago, maybe even 6 years ago, we were in LA, okay? And I was about to do a live painting outside of a hotel downtown. And the night before, we had dinner, the three of us. And that night, I told them, listen, this is what I'm going to do tomorrow. You're going to see some very shocking images and a shocking action. I don't want us to hurt each other. So let's have a deal here. We're going to do whatever we think we could do that doesn't hurt any of us. And we decided to sign that deal. And that's how we work. Andrea decided to go and do the walks inside the building, which is, for me, I will never be able to do that, but I respect that she wants to do that. And the same thing when she sees her mom screaming in front of a hearing in Capitol. She will never do that, but she respects that. So that's how we've been able to manage this situation.
So you keep your family together by allowing everybody to do what they're comfortable with and respecting those decisions.
Definitely.
Correct.
I think
That's
this is crucial in a situation like this. You don't know how you're going to be reacting, and it's valid any kind of reactions during this process. Any kind of reaction. If you decided to go and dance, go for it. If you decided to go to bed because you're not having the strength enough to be able to speak or to go to do something, go for it. So we are very open to let us do what we really feel in that moment, because we are still in this roller coaster.
Mm-hmm.
And every day is different. Every day is different. Even though that we are both medicated with anti-anxiety, antidepressant, it's still under those drugs, we still have our moments.
Of course. I mean, I feel like, how could you not, right?
Exactly. So
it just seems like everybody, if you didn't, you would be, it would be like you didn't love him enough to
Right.
to care afterwards. course you do.
There's a funny story with respecting things, what we do. We were flying, the three of us, to Montreal, to Canada. And we got to the airport. We were going through the immigration process, and it's me and Andrea. And the immigration officer asked me, so what do you do for a living? What's it that you do? And I said, I'm an activist. And Andrea looks at me, really? Like that's your best answer. You're an activist.
That's the profession you're putting down on the
Of course,
form?
yes. Of course, they will hold us for, you don't say I'm an activist when you're getting into another country. So I learned my lesson, and I started saying I'm an artist since that day.
Good plan.
Yeah,
Good plan
that
for the
was
future.
thanks to Andrea.
And speaking of, see, we learn from everybody, right? And speaking of, tell me about the organization and how that came about.
Sure. So Change the Ref. That's a weird name for a nonprofit. It happens that Joaquin played basketball. He was really good playing basketball. And at one point during the season, I was coaching his team. I am really bad playing basketball, but he wanted me to be there so I could be the coach and choose the players according to his decision. Like, it would all friends of Joaquin will
Right.
be in the team. So one day he had a huge argument with the referee. Bang, bang, bang. And then he was thrown out of the game. And then I try to solve the problem, and then I'm thrown out of the game. And we're driving back home, and Joaquin tells me, Dad, I think we need to change the ref. I say, yeah, but why? Well, I think the ref hates you. I think the ref hates me. I think, he's 17 years old, just
Yeah.
putting this together, and that ref will be able to take money from another team. So all right, so that was the end of that conversation. And then 2 weeks later, Joaquin was shut down. And we
Just
start.
2 weeks later?
Yeah,
Oh my
2 weeks
gosh.
after this conversation, Joaquin was shut down. We start looking at the news and see what's going on, and then we saw how there is a huge corporation in gun manufacturers and the gun industry in general, and they are some way putting money on the refs. And by the refs, I mean the ones that are supposed to make the right calls. So we need to change the ref. And that's the mission of the organization. And I'm so glad that Joaquin was the one that came out with the name of his own organization. Now, Change the Ref sounded as something that we needed to explain the whole time. 6 years later, it's a very recognized brand in Cannes Festival and in other creative festivals around the planet. So I think we did a good job with that. It speaks for Joaquin, and it connects with the youth, which I believe is a very important thing.
So I definitely want to get back to that. But just in terms of the name, I love the name because it just says exactly what the issue is in many people's minds, is that we have the wrong people running the rules, whether it's in state legislatures or in federal governments, or whether it's in the organizations. And I'll say that certainly our listeners know that they've heard me make this complaint before, that the NRA for 100 years was an organization focused on education and training, and in the 1970s it very publicly flipped the board at one of their annual meetings. They flipped on kind of the whole who runs everything, and they changed into a completely different organization after 1977. And really to a huge disservice to people who are gun owners, who really just, everybody who's old like me grew up, with somebody, if they had an NRA membership, it was because that's where they were getting their gun safety training. So that idea of the refs changed in the NRA, and that's what changed the NRA. So I can see exactly how appropriate that title is. Tell me how people can get involved first. Tell me that.
We have a very active social media.
Yeah, we have a really group of kids that they've been with us since the very beginning,
Right.
handling social media so they can follow Change the Ref. Our organization's website is changetheref.org. We have our email that they can communicate to us. We're gonna explain, or we're gonna give any advice that they require, because that's an easy way to contact us. I would like to say that besides the youth, that they are really in love with the organization, and besides all the brand that we have done internationally, I think that we have done a really good job here in America, where we are, where we fight. At the beginning, our purpose was to bring the youth and to give them all the support. But during all this journey, we've been knowing more and more adults, moms, families, that they want to be involved because the kids were involved and they start learning about us and they want to be together. So now we expand that mission. And we are willing to give that advice that I was saying me as a mom, because they see me that they can do something more, and that's nice. You know, I don't do it more because I feel the compromise that I have to give something from me to the world, because Joaquin couldn't do it physically. He's doing it through us. So I think that our organization is being in that way, is being very successful.
And how can people get involved?
I invite people to see what we do, see how this aligns with your thoughts. So if you're a 17, 18-year-old, 19, 25, there's always a rebel inside you. We are the rebel side of the gun violence prevention. We are the ones that cross those ethical limits. I mean, we get in trouble, good trouble. And we know how to do it because we have very professional creatives behind us. It's not because we are exceptional. No, it's because we have a great team of volunteer creatives behind us. So once you get into the website, once you see what we do, once you see our campaigns, and you think that is exactly something that you want to be involved with, that's automatically making you part of the team. We travel a lot inside the United States, so there's a big chance that we can visit your city at some point.
So remember that. So keep in mind that there's so many opportunities. I know the murals, the paintings, the artwork, the theater, the foundational elements of advocacy, activism, which is a word. I was introduced as an activist yesterday, and I was like, oh, I've never been called that before.
Activism
Activism.
and disruption.
And disruption.
So let me tell you, when I say I travel the country in a school bus. We have a school bus as our main transporting, mobilizing, and we converted that school bus into an activist headquarters with everything that you see here. We have ways to have a podcast, we have speakers, we have a stage, we have sound, we have music, we have everything on that thing. And that it's a way to also make this cool. It could be a cool fight. You don't have to wear a tie and wear a suit if you're 19 years old and talk to a senator. No. Come with us and talk to people. And then let people make the final decision.
I mean, you're very inspiring. And do you think that's the outcome that you'll see is the idea that people will be inspired to be engaged, to be involved, not just to be sad or not just to say it didn't happen at my school. I hear that. Well, it hasn't happened here. And I know, because of my work, that it happens everywhere. But people often say to me, well, you know, we have a safe community. It hasn't happened here. What do you say to people who say that? And they say, I don't need to get involved in that. It's too scary.
I would say that it is very scary. It is a subject that maybe till today we avoid to talk about it, but it's a reality. This is a reality that is happening every day. That is not going to be away because you're not turning on the news, or you're not listening to the radio, or you're not going online. Right. So you have to start educating yourself. You got to start, for example.
Yeah, that's why I wrote that book, right?
Exactly.
That's why I wrote How to Talk About Guns with Anyone. People are afraid to talk about it.
Yeah.
And that's why I love that you're here talking about something that people want to talk about in their mind, I think. They just don't know how to talk about it. They don't know how to respond.
I think we need to send more information out there. There's very little. There's not enough content to get people to know how bad this is. I don't regret stuff. Okay, I've done a lot of things. Some good, some better, some worse. The only thing that I regret today is not being involved in gun violence prevention before February 14th in 2018. That, I don't want you to feel this, because it's terrible. Because you think very often that maybe I could have been part of the solution. Maybe I could have been the person to prevent that, but I didn't. You know who was involved? Joaquin was involved. Joaquin was concerned. Joaquin came to us talking about the Pulse nightclub tragedy and how offended he was after that. Joaquin came to us talking about what happened in Vegas and asking us, how is this happening then? How is this possible? And that he went to marches and he knew that this was not good for the country. So get involved. What are you ready for? Are you ready to be the next victim? Or are you ready to start working with not only our organization, any organization? You can start by reading the book. They should start by reading How to Talk About Guns with Anyone right now.
Yeah.
Because you should talk about guns. That is a conversation that you should have with your kids. You talk about sex, you talk about other things, you talk about guns. Because that is a reality.
When you talk to the politicians, do you feel like they're hearing you?
Well, that's a hard task. To me and to us, really, that's not our strength. I've been doing that, I think a little more than Manuel. And I need to prepare myself. For example, we were in Washington on February 14th this year, and we launched a campaign that is called Shotline, which is about Joaquin's AI voice, sending a message to politicians. So you go to the website, you just look for your zip code, and they will show you the representative, and there's 5 other more voices besides Joaquin, and they will do the call for you with those voices. So we were in Washington, then we went to Capitol, and then we went to one of the Republicans' representative office, and she just slapped the door on me, and I put my feet on the door. I say, no, you gotta listen. So bring me the voice. I played the voice. They say, now we can go.
You played it from outside her door?
Yeah.
Or the crack of the door open and you just
I put the phone,
inside.
I put the phone inside. I said, you think that you're going to get rid of Joaquin? No way. Here's his.
I love that.
I don't have that patience. I don't have the tolerance that Patricia has. And Patricia is very friendly. Like, everybody loves Patricia. She's nice and she knows how to, enchant people. I don't have that talent. Every time I go to Washington, I get in trouble at some point. I try not to, but at some point I will get in trouble. So I decided to accept that reality, and I put myself away from those things. I have a lot of politicians that I get along very well with them, but it's hard, It's hard to be a priority, because I also understand that politicians have many things to be fixing. This is one of the things. Yes, it's the most important for us, but then you have other issues. So politicians cannot concentrate and focus on these problems. We can. This is the only thing that matters to us. So that means that we spend more time working on the solution. We need to get together with people like you. We need to find different angles of addressing the problem and putting them together. I think that the Parkland families, just to give you an example, we decided to go in different directions. Some of us are more aligned than others. But I always thought that was a good thing, because we're hitting from different angles. I wouldn't be able to do things that other families are doing. And that's fine. And I'm not asking them to do what we do. So diversity of attack, it's like mandatory at this point. And it will create a new thing. We need to change the game. We need to do things in a different way. We need to write more about this, say more about this, and get more people involved. Because no one is safe. No one in this studio right now can assure me that it won't be the next victim.
Right. I know that's the frightening part for me, right? I always see a shooter coming through the door. It's kind of the nature of my job for so many years. And I worry that everybody else feels that way. And it's sad that people feel that way now.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt that way because I was an FBI agent. It was my job to do that, to protect you, so that you could go to Joaquin's basketball game and you could do the things with your daughter that you want to do. What would you like others to do right now what could someone do who's listening to this podcast? And I'm a believer in marginal gains. Tiny steps get you to your journey and get you to your destination. So is there a tiny step that our listeners could do right now that you would recommend, 1 or 2 or 3?
I would love to recommend people to not be selfish with this. What I mean by that is that if someone else loses a kid, you should feel bad. Not lucky because your kid is still alive. Because we're all together in this. And now if you see what we're doing, we're actually trying to protect kids from others. Like the other kids, not because our kid is already dead. So if our society starts thinking in a more inclusive way, if I care about my neighbor's kid and my neighbor cares about the other house on the other side kids, then we will take this more as a thing that is hitting all of us. It is not enough and wearing an orange t-shirt one day in a year. And it's actually risky because some people think they did already something by wearing the orange t-shirt one day. So every time they bring those, social engaging things that last for 24 hours, or a celebrity that goes on stage and speaks very loud and clear, and then you don't see the face again, ever. So it's like an opportunity stage. Don't. This is a daily job. And it's hitting us every day. So we need to respond to it every single day. Get involved. You don't need to get involved in our organization. You can get involved in multiple ways. Just get involved. Be part of this because, again, this is something that getting involved you won't regret ever. Losing a loved one will make you be part of it the hard way.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah, and I think that we need to share also what grateful is to feel that you're doing something for someone. When we go away and we meet these kind of communities with kids, adults, parents, grandparents, and they start talking to each other, they start talking to us, they start to meet them, and you see that you're doing something for them and they feel that you're caring for them, you see the feedback immediately. And the fact that you can be together as a community, I think that's a very good first step. And then to care about what's going on. So what's going on between our city? Let's start for the very, very little place, your city. When you go to the basketball games or you go to the baseball games, and we were doing that for a lot of years, that you get in touch with other people from your community. And if you start having those conversations, we'll be bringing something positive. If you don't want to belong to an organization, but at least you want to do something because you understand that you're at risk, and your family and your community is at risk, you may get something positive out of it. But you have to feel the need that you're doing something because we belong to a society. And I think today we are in danger because we don't understand. We see the situation in a selfish way. We need to be inclusive. It doesn't matter who you are, what you represent, where you work. No, it matters. You matter yourself, your family, your neighbors, your community around you.
No, I completely agree with that. That's a great way to put it too, because I think it is, people isolate and they always try to say, well, that's not me, but that's not me, but that's not my neighborhood, but that's not my community. And that because I think that's often just fear. It's fear and selfishness, but there's so many small things people can do. One of our listeners contacted us and said, I heard that you said every school should have an anonymous reporting system so that if they hear something, they would know where to report it. So I called our school district and I found out they didn't have one. So before my daughter started school in the fall, I made them set one up. The entire school district, because one mom said, I don't want my kindergartner to go to school, and a whole school district now has an anonymous reporting system that they talk about.
Good.
It's just people who just continue to get involved. We have a vice principal who contacted us, our listeners know. She made her other teachers and employees listen to the podcast, they learned how to look for signs of shootings, and they stopped a school shooting. A 6th grader who was planning for 2 years to do a shooting. And he told other people about it, and somebody overheard, and they stopped the shooting. I mean, you can do so many different things. So where do you go from here?
We are flying back home, which is Florida, and then getting ready to start what we call our summer tour. We were going to Baltimore on the 12th. I have to be part of a panel. It's great because the panel has 4 people on it, and the average age is 22.
Oh, I love it.
And then not including me, of course. So I love when they invite me to these kind of events, because that means that we are really connecting. When I go there, I'm Joaquin. I'm representing Joaquin, and I love it. From there, we're going to go to DC. We're going to start rehearsals for the play. The play will be starting on the 22nd.
Which theater?
First Stage Theater.
First Stage.
It's a Logan
Logan
Festival.
Festival.
And it's a theater festival. So it's not a gun violence prevention event. That is awesome, because we have an audience that is not involved, and they will start listening from us from there. So we have 7 shows. From there, we're going to San Diego, where we have 4 shows. We will celebrate Joaquin's life on his birthday on August 4th. And then we'll go around the country on our bus tour for 20 days.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I'm giving you the immediate things that we're going to do. There's more, but
There's
that's
much
what-
more. Well, you're welcome to swing by my house, and I have a big driveway. You can park your bus.
Great.
Thank you. Where are you? In Washington?
Washington, yeah.
Oh, awesome. Awesome.
Oh, and you have to come to the play.
Yeah, definitely.
Of course.
Definitely. For sure. We'll be there, for sure. Any parting words? Any words of your sons, or any words that you would like to share?
I would like to share the fact that before judging what we do, think about the result of what we're doing and the intentions that we have. And that applies to everyone. So I think there is a common ground here, and it's keeping kids safe, alive. Understanding that we have a problem. I mean, I saw the debate last night, and gun violence was not part of the conversation. And I think it should have been part of the conversation. So if it's not part of the conversation on that level, what do we expect from any other level? So we need to bring the conversation out there. We need to put that sense of urgency out there. And I invite people to be part of that conversation. When you need a conversation, that means that you have a problem. You know, when you have to have the conversation, that means that there's a problem behind the conversation. So we're a great nation. We're very powerful in most things. Let's fix this one. Let's get together and fix it.
Well, I will go more for the emotional part. I will share a quote that Joaquin and I share constantly, and we were competing, which was the one who was saying first, which is, I love you the most. I love you the most. I think it will concentrate what we have to do in general.
Yeah.
We said that to each other, and now I am the winner because I got a tattoo, and I constantly saying that to him. I want to end this podcast saying that I love you the most.
Thank you for joining us on Stop the Killing. Remember, these conversations aren't just important, they're necessary. If you're ready to dive deeper into the issues we cover, Katherine's book, Stop the Killing, and also How to Talk About Guns with Anyone are available now at katherineschweit.com. Stop the Killing is proudly produced by Sarah Ferris Media. For more award-winning podcasts like Conning the Con and Watching Two Detectives, visit sarahferrismedia.com. As an independent podcast, we rely on your support to keep these critical discussions alive. If you value our work, please consider supporting us on patreon.com/stopthekilling or by simply subscribing on Apple Podcasts now. Not only will you help us to continue this mission, but you'll also get early access to ad-free episodes and exclusive content that takes a deeper look into unfolding incidents. And don't forget, Stop the Killing is a team effort. You can make a difference by leaving a review on Apple and sharing this podcast with others. Together, we can keep pushing these conversations forward. Thank you for being part of this journey. Stay safe, stay informed, and let's continue to stop the killing.